The phrase, Middle East, often conjures up images dominated by two significant elements: the region's immense oil wealth and its ongoing political turmoil. Over the last century, this area has experienced a succession of wars and conflicts, spanning countries like Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Palestine, and Yemen. The human cost of these struggles is staggering, with millions of lives lost and vast sums of money squandered on military endeavors and post-conflict reconstruction efforts. Despite the considerable toll, a durable and comprehensive peace remains elusive. To understand the origins of these persistent challenges, one must delve into the historical backdrop that shaped the modern Middle East. The region's complexities can be traced back more than a century to the decline of the Ottoman Empire, which had dominated much of the Middle East for centuries. The empire, at its height during the 16th and 17th centuries, was characterized by a diverse tapestry of ethnicities and religions. Turks, Arabs, Kurds, Christians, and Jews lived under a relative state of coexistence, governed by a system that allowed for local autonomy in many areas. However, the empire's decline in the late 19th century set off a chain of events that would fundamentally alter the region's landscape. European powers, particularly Great Britain and France, sought to expand their influence over the weakening Ottoman territories. The British, motivated by strategic interests such as securing trade routes to India and countering rival powers, began establishing colonies throughout the region. Significant treaties and agreements, such as the treaties with the UAE in 1820 and Bahrain in 1861, reflected this growing dominance. The geopolitical dynamics shifted dramatically during World War I. As the Ottomans sided with Germany, British and French forces developed plans to dismantle the empire. The secret Sykes-Picot Agreement of 1916 laid the groundwork for dividing Ottoman territories into spheres of influence after the war. This division was made without regard for the region's diverse populations and intricate ethnic and religious landscapes. Consequently, the new borders created tensions that would simmer for decades, leading to conflict and resentment among various groups. Adding to the complications was the 1917 Balfour Declaration, which expressed British support for the establishment of a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine. This declaration ignited widespread outrage among the Arab population, who felt their aspirations for independence and self-determination were being ignored. The post-war Treaty of Versailles further solidified these arbitrary borders, placing many new nations under British or French colonial rule. The establishment of countries such as Iraq, Syria, and Lebanon was often driven by European interests rather than the realities of local demographics, a miscalculation that would have profound implications. As the 20th century unfolded, nationalist movements began to rise across the region, fueled by a desire for independence from colonial powers. These movements were often characterized by a mix of ideologies, including Arab nationalism, Islamism, and secularism, leading to internal strife as various groups vied for power. The discovery of vast oil reserves in the 1930s intensified global interest in the region, further complicating the existing political landscape. Oil became a crucial resource, not only for the economies of Middle Eastern countries but also for the geopolitical strategies of foreign powers. The creation of Israel in 1948 was a watershed moment, fundamentally reshaping the Middle East's political landscape. The establishment of the Jewish state was met with fierce resistance from neighboring Arab nations, culminating in the Arab-Israeli War. The conflict led to the displacement of hundreds of thousands of Palestinians, drastically altering the demographic makeup of the region and sowing the seeds for ongoing conflict. Many Palestinians sought refuge in Lebanon, which significantly transformed its societal structure and ultimately contributed to the Lebanese civil war that erupted in 1975. The late 20th century was marked by a series of revolutions, wars, and uprisings that further complicated the region's stability. The Iranian Revolution of 1979 established a Shia Islamic Republic, alarming Sunni-majority countries like Saudi Arabia and Kuwait. The resulting tensions led to the Iran-Iraq War in the 1980s, a devastating conflict that pitted two of the region's largest powers against each other, with dire humanitarian consequences. The Gulf War in 1990, triggered by Iraq's invasion of Kuwait, saw a coalition led by the United States intervene militarily to liberate Kuwait. This event not only solidified American military presence in the region but also transformed the geopolitical landscape. The establishment of U.S. military bases across the Middle East was met with resentment, particularly among extremist groups that perceived foreign intervention as a threat to Islamic sovereignty. Today, the Middle East remains a complex mosaic of conflicts, driven by historical grievances, sectarian divides, and external interventions. The ongoing civil war in Syria exemplifies how regional powers, such as Iran, Saudi Arabia, and Turkey, engage in proxy wars, utilizing local factions to advance their geopolitical agendas. In Iraq, the legacy of war and instability has allowed groups like ISIS to exploit power vacuums, further destabilizing the region. The current crises in the Middle East can be traced back to decisions made over a century ago, which often disregarded the rich tapestry of human experience within the region. Understanding the intricate historical context is essential for fostering meaningful dialogue and identifying pathways toward sustainable peace. Only by acknowledging the complexities and